Yes, hello, Jafar. It is unfortunate that the impeachment inquiry is overshadowing the meeting between President Trump and President Erdogan. That said, I would like maybe I could analyze what we can expect from this meeting, and maybe analyze what the forces that are directing the anti-Turkish sentiment in the United States for the past few months. I think what has happened in Turkey in the United States regarding the U.S.-Turkish relationship is that Turkey has been now facing three separate forces from within the United States that is leading this anti-Turkey sentiment. The first one is the military-industrial complex, because Turkey decided to purchase the S-400 missiles from Russia, and that is a done deal, and it received most of these components. So that has angered the military-industrial complex because it is a great source of profit that they have lost. So so whoever is all of the research centers that are associated with the military-industrial complex are constantly producing literature that is anti-Turkey. The second force is the anti-Trump lobby. So because President Trump in his style is being portrayed as authoritarian, and so is the President of Turkey is portrayed as authoritarian, so that in itself creates an anti-Turkey bias, that Trump likes President Erdogan because he's authoritarian, because he wants to make deals on person-to-person basis, while that shouldn't be the case, while the foreign policy should be directed more with the between the state apparatus in general and the other country. The third and probably the most important force that is anti-Turkey or anti-Turkish policy in its present form is coming from the pro-Israel lobby, because President Erdogan, as you have noticed, has been portrayed as being anti-Israeli. Even claims have been made that he is furthermore just anti-Israeli. He's even more like being portrayed as being accused being anti-Semitic. The reason is that he has championed the cause of the Palestinians, and that is being presented as being threatening to the state of Israel. And you have a few weeks ago, right? Was it last month that President Erdogan made in his speech to the UN, he spoke about he showed several maps of Israel, and he was asking, what is Israel? So that has angered the pro-Israeli lobby. They feel that now Turkey has turned totally against Israel in international politics, and therefore, in that light, you will understand why Congress adopted or passed the resolution recognizing the Armenian genocide right now, at the time where this resolution has been presented approximately 20 years ago to Congress. So you have to ask why right now. It was presented about 20 years ago, but it was passed by the House Foreign Relations Committee in 2007, but it wasn't until now that it has been approved by Congress. So you have to ask what is the secret behind this timing.
Now, Professor, let me ask you, the sanctions or the bill, the Armenian bill, was passed on the 29th of October, which is the Turkish Republic Day. I think it would be the same to put it this way, passing sanctions on France on Bastille Day or passing sanctions on the United Kingdom on the Queen's birthday, because in reality, on papers at least, Turkey and the United States are key allies, not just allies, they're key NATO allies. So what kind of message is the U.S. Congress trying to send to Turkey?
Yeah, the U.S. Congress is not happy with Turkey. That's the message. So you have to figure out yourself, or the Turks have to figure out themselves why, or what is behind the unhappiness of the U.S. Congress. And I think these are the three elements that I had mentioned to you would explain them, one probably more than the other. The question that I think what's taking place at this time, you have to analyze what's happening in President Trump's mind and what's happening in President Erdogan's mind regarding the relationship between the U.S., Turkey, and Turkey and Russia. I think you have to understand the current situation within that context. Turkey has been part of NATO and it has been part of the Western alliance against the Soviet Union. However, President Trump brought new ideas before his election and during his election and after his election. The new idea is that the NATO alliance is an old alliance. It is no longer relevant. And he showed some signs of acting towards that. He didn't want to see Russia as an enemy. He didn't want to see this continuation of the cycle of hostility against Russia, that Russia can be incorporated within the Western political system to convert it from an enemy to a friend. Now, the question here is, how does Turkey find itself in this U.S.-Russia relationship, in the new relationship between the U.S. and Russia? Now, Turkey was incorporated in the alliance with NATO against the Soviet Union, but that is no longer the case. I mean, Turkey is in the southern, is facing Russia from the south. Now that the Soviet Union's ideology is gone, the Soviet Union is no longer an expansionist communist country. So Turkey doesn't have an ideological problem with Russia. It makes more sense for Turkey to be a friend with Russia than to be an enemy with Russia. I mean, nobody wants a great country like Russia to be an enemy. So I think Turkey is realizing that both from a geostrategic point of view and from a practical point of view in terms of buying weapons or in terms of having trade relations. So Turkey finds itself in a difficult relationship with NATO, while on one hand, it doesn't have a real interest in being in NATO. On the other hand, it is seeing so much attacks from NATO, and particularly from the United States and from Europe, while it is part of NATO. So I think this is the uneasy relationship that Turkey is finding itself, and probably this is what is behind President Erdogan's new approach to NATO vis-a-vis Russia.
Okay. Now, Professor, during their brief talk today at the White House, President Donald Trump said that he is going to keep forces in Syria just for the sake of oil. Now, what would you like to say about this statement? I mean, it's quite absurd, to be honest.
What can one say? It is embarrassing, again, for me to be a citizen of a great country like the United States and still see my leadership focuses on some few oil fields in a foreign country more than thousands of miles away that make no difference to the U.S. economy, and at the same time say that we are there to either take the oil or protect the oil. I believe, recently it looks like the president has changed his rhetoric regarding these oil fields. He's saying that we want to protect it rather than take it, because in the past he was saying we want to take it. Now, I mean, it is embarrassing for a president to say we want to pillage another country's resources, especially when we don't need it. Now he is saying that we want to protect it so that ISIS doesn't take it back. And then he was saying we want to give it to our allies, meaning the Kurds, which is a difficult situation. It's a difficult, actually, message to make, because it's being inconsistent. On one hand, he said that we, as American troops, we are not interested in sponsoring a Kurdish separatist state in Syria, and that explains why the U.S. decided to withdraw. When the Turkish army said that we are going to enter. So the U.S. clearly said that we are not interested in pursuing the Kurdish agenda. We were only supporting the YPG, the PKK, in order for them to fight against ISIS, but nothing more, nothing less, and we paid them for that. So I think the U.S. is out of that equation. Is out of the equation of sponsoring sponsoring the YPG in establishing or leading the establishment of this separate state. That, however, that message is not coming clearly. It looks like the president is going back and forth depending on what kind of forces are pushing him. So there is no clear resolution on it. Now, that said, keeping 600 troops around the oil fields, that is not going to do much. I think, as I said many times in the past, this is more of an element of instability in the region than stability, because I could expect hostile actions to be taking place against U.S. troops in that area.
Okay.
I don't think it's a wise thing to do, but what can we do? We don't know why it is happening. So sometimes the president says this, and then he says something else, and we just have to wait and see.
Okay. Now, Professor, I think the main aim of both Turkey and the United States from this meeting is to improve their relationship. Is that going to happen with this meeting or not?
Well, in principle, the U.S. president is the one who makes foreign policy. So in principle, yes, I think it will improve because the president wants to have better relationship with Turkey. But as you see, as I enumerated, there are three forces that are standing against him, and now that he is under attack from the impeachment inquiry, it is not clear how he would respond. Like whether he will give in and he will take an anti-Turkey posture, or he will maintain let's say a neutral position regarding his relationship with Turkey. Regarding the trade deals, I think he's going to do the same thing he has done with the other countries. He is going to engage in trade. He's going to engage in trade negotiations as long as the rules of the game are fair, that they are the same sort of tariffs that are imposed on both sides. I think he would not be against any trade deal. That said, regarding the military question, I think that would be a big issue, and I think he would not be able to control that because Congress will have to approve any deal that he would make with the Turkish president regarding the Turkish participation in the making of the in the airplanes, in the fighter jets that the U.S. is making right now. So that remains to be seen. But regarding other non-military means, I think President Trump would be able and would be willing to reach an agreement with President Erdogan regarding it. Okay.
Professor, my last question to you, coming back to the topic of northern Syria. Reports suggest that the United States is still providing support to the YPG, Syrian offshoot of the recognized PKK terrorist organization. From the statements made by the Turkish president, it does not seem like Turkey would make any concession when it comes to the YPG. So how do you think this is going to work out?
Well, for me, it looks like it is out of his hand. Again, it looks like he's saying something and then somebody on the ground is doing something else. It will have to be resolved in this struggle between him and the deep state that he is dealing with. Practically speaking, the U.S. now has given up, as I said, it has given up on that project. And at any rate, the president never had a project to support a separatist movement in Syria. But there are other forces that have had that project, and it is the main aim of that project is to support the separatist movement. Now, this has to be understood. This subject now, this particular subject in Syria, it has to be understood within the context of Russia as well. Now, if you recall, about a year and a half ago, when you started your program, I said that Russia is trying to use Turkey in order to oust the U.S. from Syria. And I think that has partly happened. With this latest incursion, that partly happened. The U.S. decided that it does not want to fight Turkey, so it moved its troops away. Now, given the fact, and the second element is that, in principle, Donald Trump agreed with President Putin to let Russia solve the Syrian situation, because Russia has more at stake than the United States, at least than how he envisions the United States. Russia has more at stake in Syria than he does. So he had, in principle, agreed with it, and therefore he didn't see a problem in withdrawing from northern Syria and letting the Turkish incursion occur in part, and then agreeing with the idea that Russia would manage this conflict from now on. And as you know, that Russia, Turkey are having now joint operations to patrol the area in order to prevent military clash between the Syrian army and the Turkish army. In short, I cannot make much sense from the continued U.S. support for the YPG, other than saying that there are other elements which are not directly under the control of President Trump that want to maintain this continued support for the YPG. So the resolution of that is going to depend on what is going to happen with the impeachment inquiry. It looks to me, because it has started and because it has started in full force, most likely the impeachment will be taking place. And while President Trump will not be removed eventually from the Senate, by the Senate, because the Senate has a Republican majority, it is going to be turning into a completely political game that is designed to discredit Donald Trump in his election.
All right. All right. Now, Professor, let me add one more question here. It's not exactly related to the meeting taking place between Turkey and Turkish and the U.S. president. Turkey has started the repatriation of Daesh terrorists to their countries of origin. What kind of impact it could have on the fight against terrorism?
Well, I think it's a good move that these terrorists should be repatriated. They should be extradited to their countries of origin, so that these countries of origin will make up their mind about what to do with them, because most of them are coming from the West, and the West has contributed so much in generating the Syrian conflict by supporting the rebellion, by arming the rebellion. So I think it's a good move. On one hand, Turkey would be saying to the West that you have to do something about it. In other words, you have to incur the cost of handling these people that have been captured, and not just sit and watch and say this is not our problem, because this is a Western problem as much as it is a regional problem. I think probably, I hope that from now on the West will be more careful about not intervening in other countries' affairs, because as you saw, the outcome of militarizing the Syrian protests was catastrophic for all of the countries in the region, and was catastrophic for the West as well, because of the refugee crisis, the West has moved more from the center towards the right. So there are so many right-wing forces that have been taking power or getting close to taking power in the West. By the way, that is not independent from the fact that Donald Trump won the election also, because he used the flux of the refugees into Europe by scaring people from that during his election and winning the election. So supporting rebellions like the Syrian rebellion is not without consequence, and maybe Europe can learn something from it, and therefore I think they should be taking these ISIS captives to their countries and decide what to do with them themselves.
All right, Professor Mark Tomass, thank you very much for talking to us. As always, we really appreciate your analysis. We will be talking to you soon to see if this meeting between the Turkish president and the U.S. president lived up to your expectations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jafar. Bye-bye.